They all didn't want to listen to me at the start of the season. I knew exactly what would happen. I only wanted to protect the well-being of the players. These injuries isn't just part of the game. 8, possibly 9 All-Stars have missed playoff games, most in league history. This is the best time of the year for our league and fans, but missing a ton of our favorite players. 4-time NBA champion Shaquille O'Neal recently had this in response. When you're living in a world where 40 million people have been laid off, and you're making $200 million, you won't get any complaining from me. I'd play back to back to back to back. I'm not knocking what anybody said, but me personally, I don't complain. I don't make excuses because real people are working their tail off. And all we got to do is train 2 hours a day and then play a game for 2 hours at night and make a whole lot of money. So my thought process, a little bit different. Well then, Max, do NBA players complain too much? Does Shaq have a point here?
No. Well, does Shaq have a point? Let me just say, before I don't want Stephen A., the pandemic was for real. A lot of people lost their lives.
Absolutely.
A lot of people were suffering, and you have to acknowledge that, so I get the sentiment. I need to start out by saying, Shaq, I understand the sentiment, right? But no, the NBA players are not complaining too much. Like, first of all, Shaq told on himself a little, Stephen A. All you got to do is show up and train for 2 hours and then play 2 hours at night. That's not what LeBron and the elite of the elite are doing. Sometimes that's why Shaq, who said, hey, I get hurt on company time, I'll rehab on company time. That's sometimes why Kobe got mad at Shaq, right? Like, Shaq was a physical freak who could get away with doing that sometimes, but most of these other guys who are the elite of the elite, not. Stephen A., how could you deny when it's not just all-stars, we could throw it out, all-stars, series were decided by these injuries. And LeBron is right. LeBron called the shot ahead of time. You can't turn around after the dude said, this is what's going to happen. Then it happens, and then say, don't complain. Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Stephen A., they were humiliating Milwaukee until Kyrie went down, and then Harden was never really Harden. That wasn't just, those were beatings, like humiliation beatings. Obviously, Milwaukee was no match for them. AD goes down. The Lakers don't advance. Look at every series. You talk about Jamal Murray, now Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell. The whole playoffs has been decided by injury, and LeBron warned against it. So, Stephen A., I get Shaq's sentiment, and it's a good one. Real people are really suffering, and these are people who are living different kinds of lives. But to say that like LeBron's complaining when he predicted it and it happened, he had a reason for saying what he said.
Well, that doesn't mean the reason vibes with what you're proclaiming. And the fact of the matter is LeBron is incredibly wrong. And I agree with Shaq. A lot of these players complain too damn much. And you wonder, they walk around with this, acerbic attitude, a bit truculent with people and all this stuff. And you're like, what the hell is wrong with you? Who bothered you? And it's not just about these games, and it's not just about play after bubble play. It's everything. DeMarcus Cousins was on the air talking about people need to give Paul George his flowers. Mm-hmm. When has Paul George not received his flowers? That was when Game 7 happened last year. Before then, we weren't dogging Paul George. All right, he's one of the best people you'll ever meet. We know he can ball. We just pointed out how they got sent home after giving up a 3-1 lead. And then he missed the 2 free throws in Game 2. We can't even analyze basketball anymore without dudes being caught up in their feeling. You saw me on the air months ago, and I said I didn't care about a 35, 21, and 14 performance from Russell Westbrook. Why did I say that? Because I know the brother is a walking triple-double. He won a league MVP. He's done it for years now. He's going into the Hall of Fame. We've seen that. Can I see you play after 2 weeks into the playoffs? That's all I said. This is the point. But you would have thought that people would talk about their mamas or their family members or something, because we're analyzing and dissecting the game of basketball. And who's the ringleader with that stuff? It's LeBron. Because LeBron, he can drop 50, he can drop 60. And we all know we love and respect the hell out of this phenomenal role model that is LeBron James. But let's call a spade here. He can drop 50 or 60. You can praise him till the cows come home. He got a big glowing smile on his face, and he'll sit there and talk with the media for hours. But let him have a bad game, and you point that out. Well, I'm just trying to be a role model to the kids out there, and I'm a champion in life. I came from Akron. What the hell does that have to do with the fact that you struggled in this game? This is what they do. And they do this now more than ever. And then you take into account bubble play. Let me dissect this for you, Max Kellerman. Let me remind you, because you and I were on the air every day. We ain't getting no games off. You understand what I'm saying? They stopped play March 11th. They were supposed to be off a month. Instead, they have 4.5 months off. A vast majority of them only played 6 weeks. And then they come back and they play 6 weeks to 2 months. And then they come back after 3 months off and they play in December. How much time do you want off? Of course, LeBron pointing out complaint. What complaints? You ain't been playing. He's played. He might have a complaint. But to say the rest of the league has a point? What the hell were you doing in your off time to stay in shape? You are a professional. This ain't the 50s and 60s. You don't need a second job to supplement your income. You know you making this money. All you got to do is take care of your body. What's the problem?
Those are valid points. Especially during the pandemic, people were counted themselves lucky when they had a job to go to. Forget about days off. Hey, I still have a job to go to. That's great. So I understand, and that was Shaq's broader point. I understand where you're saying, look, people were really suffering for real, not just, hey, we have a condensed schedule. What I'm saying is the specific thing LeBron was complaining about here was you're making us play too many games and what's going too close together, and what's going to happen at this level is injury. And when he calls that, and then the whole playoffs, all the best players are hurt, that's not the time to be like LeBron complains too much. That's the time to be like, he was right.
But
He was right.
Giannis injuries last night, Kyrie's injury in Milwaukee, those weren't injuries that happened as a matter of conditioning. You twisted your damn ankle. You hyperextended your knee.
You can argue both things are true. Both Shaq and both LeBron are right here.
Okay.
Molly making the...
We can. You're right, Molly, we can. But I don't choose to.
But you're not
I'm
going to.
take a side.
Stephen A., who wins tonight? Tell me. Who you got?
I can't hear you, Molly. I'm sorry.
Clippers.
Producer was in my ear.
Max out the Clippers. We'll be back here same time tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Have a fabulous night.
Reminding you, we've got Game 6, an elimination game for Terrence Mann, as well as the Clippers as they host the Suns tonight. Western Conference Finals, just 4 points. The last time we saw him on the court in 26 minutes. And, of course, they will not have Kawhi Leonard as that continues dealing with a sprained knee. He's been out this entire series. Now, if Giannis were to miss Game 5, he would be the 10th All-Star who has missed a playoff game this postseason. This is ridiculous, right?
Look.
Entering the night, 9 different All-Stars have missed a playoff game, the most in a single postseason in NBA history. And that doesn't even include your boy, Trae Young.
Yeah, because he wasn't technically an All-Star.
Should be. Who missed Game 4 with a foot injury. So no star power. It's just survival of the fittest before his show at the top of the hour. The man never stops working. Stephen A. Smith joining us now on SportsCenter. Stephen A., how will the rash of all-star injuries in the playoffs factor into how we'll view this NBA championship?
Well, it'll be tainted. There's no question about that. If Kawhi Leonard isn't playing, if Chris Paul somehow were to go down, or Devin Booker, Giannis being down, if he doesn't come back, Trae being down, if he doesn't come back, you're going to frown upon that. Look at how we look at the Milwaukee Bucks. We're talking about them going to the NBA Finals, but who in their right mind believes they'd be sitting in this position if Kyrie Irving, the significance of a championship in their minds, but in the viewing public, of course, we're going to remember that.
Okay, you're in L.A. for tonight's Game 6. What's going to be the deciding factor in your mind between the Suns and the Clippers?
Well, I think number one is going to be Paul George and how much help he gets, whether it's from Reggie Jackson or Marcus Morris again. That's number one. And number two, if you're the Phoenix Suns, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, you got to shoot with some degree of more accuracy. But the bigger point is this. How is DeAndre Ayton not getting the ball? I understand the Clippers threw a zone at you to begin the game, but DeAndre Ayton played 36 minutes and took 9 shots. DeMarcus Cousins played 11 minutes and took 12 shots. I mean, let's think about that for a second here. He plays 26 less minutes, and the dude gets 3 more shots than DeAndre Ayton. That's on Chris Paul and Devin Booker. You got to make sure you feed this man. He came into the game shooting 71% from the field. That means he makes almost 3 shots for every 4 he takes. You have to get him the basketball.
All right, we're going to keep an eye on the big man tonight. SportsCenter with Stephen A. Smith coming your way. Top of the hour live right before NBA Countdown, which takes us to Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. Appreciate you, Stephen A.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of which, Kevin, we're not done with that topic. The countdown continues to Game 6. So will Chris Paul send the Suns to the finals, or will PG-13 force a Game 7? Tim Legler